we cut straight to the chase. The bad news, you'll have seen it in the title of the video anyway. Niclas Füllkrug is out for the Newcastle game. We sort of hoped he might be available on the bench. No news of when he will return. The club don't know. Literally the latest news from them, top sources and all that stuff. They don't know when he's going to return. Definitely not on the bench for Newcastle. We'll deal with that and basically what I think is a little bit of fallout from it, because I'm not entirely sure this guy's going to play for West Ham. I'm starting to come around to at all. I know he's made some minutes so far. This could go down as one of the very, very worst signings we've ever made. I know there's been ones in the past, and Joey Beecher, Marco Boogers, that sort of thing. But for the money paid, this could be an absolute whopper. Before I get into that, before I forget, we've got a really, really good deal for the rest of November on our Hammers Chat Patreon. Let me just read it now. Basically, if you become an addict, and basically become Patreon addict, which is our top tier, then it's going to be £6 for the first month. That's a really, really good deal. You've got to go to patreon.com/hammerschat and you've got to use the code, let me get this right, I'm reading it, 8D52A to get 50% off. The link will be in the description below. Basically, go and check that out. I'll tell you why it's such a good thing to do. It's not just all the additional content that we've got over on Patreon. That stuff we think is good and we think it's good value, but you get discounts to our online store. Big percentage discounts. So actually, where the smart money is, go and sign up to Patreon and then go and use your discount codes in our Hammers Chat store, basically. Get your presents, things like this hoodie, get your presents, get yourself stocked up before Christmas. Right, Niclas Füllkrug. So the question was answered, the question was asked earlier on today. Any news with Niclas Füllkrug? Will he be available on the bench? We've heard that he's back in training, but you know what? All we've done is hear that he's back in training. We've seen no pictures, we've seen no footage. There's been nothing like that happening. And the answer came back, no, he's not going to be available for the off the bench to face Newcastle. Okay, right. Well, we sort of hoped that might be the case. Nobody thought he was going to start, but there were maybe some more positive reports. Apparently, it's a load of old poppycock. None of that's actually happened at all. Furthermore, when a club were asked, do we know when there's going to be a return date? No. That is bad. That is bad. Look, we've done this subject to death. But, you know, the reason we've done it to death is if what had happened is Niclas Füllkrug got injured on international duty and done his ACL, we would know he'd be out for the rest of the season. We wouldn't be talking about it. The reason it's become a relevant subject is he had an Achilles, some said it was tendonitis, little strain, something or other, injured his Achilles in September on international duty. And we were told, to be fair, not by the club themselves, but we were told that it'd be 3 weeks. The rest literally is history. It is a historical story now. It's no longer a breaking news story. It's historical. We thought he'd come back, didn't come back in 3 weeks, didn't come back in October. It's now November. And I remember doing a video a little while ago saying, well, maybe he doesn't come back before December, which sounded ridiculous at the time. And not that I know anything about it. I'm no medical man. I don't know how these things work. But it didn't look good. And something that I've discussed a couple of occasions, I think his injury and how quickly he got injured and how infrequently he's featured for West Ham made you scratch below the surface and look at his injury record, which is horrendous. And it sort of made me think, oh man, you know, we really should have been looking at this stuff before he signed for West Ham. I mean us as, you know, whatever, West Ham fans, me in particular, I'm quite sure the club would have been aware of his injury record. They must have done that. You don't go and buy players without knowing their injury record, which makes you wonder why this transfer was sanctioned in the first place. I find it, the longer it goes on, harder to shift from my view that it was just an emergency transfer. But wow, you know, what an emergency, because we didn't get our top two targets. That's a lot to spend on an emergency transfer. You'd think you'd do a loan deal or something like that. But with Carlos Soler, really, Carlos Soler, he may or may not work out. I suspect he won't work out at the moment. He hasn't. Maybe a new manager comes in if Lopetegui gets the boot and gets a tune out of Mohammed. Gets a tune out of Mohammed Kudus. Won't see him for a little while. Gets a tune out of Carlos Soler, but if he doesn't, it's no problem. He just goes back to Paris Saint-Germain. You know, no harm done. Bit of a loan fee. But we're just not in that situation. So I don't know why the whole Fullkrug situation was done as a bit of an emergency transfer. Feels a little bit wrong in the way it was done. I think the whole thing just looks like, at best, a massive error. And like I alluded to at the start of the video, I'm far from confident that we'll see him in a West Ham shirt again. You've got to remember, this is a striker that wants to leave. It's a striker that's not settled in England. Stuff we've covered all before. When you put it all together, injury prone. He's currently got an injury. They don't know what's wrong with him. This is why why the medical department have basically been scratching their heads thinking, hold on, we don't know what's going wrong here. That's why we're trying to rub him in rhino horn or whatever they're doing, give him acupuncture, aromatherapy, stick him in a matey bath, whatever. They're looking for alternative remedies. Honestly, it's the worst thing. It is the worst thing I think I've read in terms of a medical diagnosis for a West Ham player in quite some time. I don't mind, right, if your girlfriend's got a headache and she said, I'm looking for some alternative remedies, I'm going to have myself a nice steaming hot bath and put a bit of lavender oil. No problem, right? No problem. Crack on. Do your alternative remedies, right? She's not done that, by the way, I'm just saying. But if you did, that's fine. For the club to be looking at alternative bloody remedies for a £27 million striker, that's terrible. You want to be able to take him, you want to be able to stick him in the scanner. Boop. Not one of those, not an out. Boop. Barcode him. We wouldn't have bought him, would we? If we'd have known. If all this stuff was on the barcode, we'd never bought the geezer in the first place. But anyway, you want to stick him through the MRI scanner, find out what's wrong with him, treat him with whatever's necessary. Whatever, be it physiotherapy or surgery at worst. To not know, what? I mean, this is terrible. Send him for a rub, send him for a massage. I don't know. Anyway, the whole thing's an absolute mess. Not sure we'll see him again. I'm just not sure we will see him again. The club will be all over it in terms of the pictures, like the media team. And why would they not? It'd be the best thing they could do. I bet they're waiting. They've got their cameras there. There you go. Where is he? Where's Niclas? They've probably forgotten what he looks like. I have, actually. Anyway, there you go. I mean, it's really even hard to call him a West Ham striker. It's called Mikel Antonio. We'll get to him in a second, by the way. Mikel Antonio, his agent's been pimping him out, by the way, twerking. We'll get to that in a second. But Mikel Antonio scored 1 goal this season. And Danny Ings scored 1 goal. And Fullkrug's obviously scored no goals because he's not played. Literally, you have scored more goals. You've scored as many goals as Niclas Füllkrug, unless you are Danny Ings or Mikel Antonio watching this, in which case you've scored more. I think the top scorer is Jared Bowen with 3. But it's bad, which does not bode well at all for Lopetegui, because this is the crunch game. Not that I don't even think Lopetegui thought that Fullkrug was coming back in this game and was going to save his bacon. I don't think that was going to be the case at all. Right, we'll get to Mikel Antonio and his agent twerking in just a bit. Before I do, this video is sponsored by Match Bingo. You got to get your Match Bingo cards in now, because obviously, it's match weekend. We don't play until Monday, and if all you want to do is play on the Newcastle United versus West Ham game, then fine, no hurry now. But if you haven't got a Match Bingo downloaded, the link is in the description below. If you already have, and there's loads of you that have, get and play the game, because we're giving away a free card. Basically, we've got a couple of promotions. The first one on Match Bingo is if you deposit £10, you get another £10 free. We've had well over 100 winners on this now. And what is it? If you don't know what Match Bingo is, basically a bingo card. Instead of getting numbers on it, you have things that have to happen during a game. Throw-ins, corners, shots on target, substitutions, that sort of thing. And yeah, you have a bingo card. You don't have to tick it off. As the game goes on, it basically ticks it off for you. Yep, corner for West Ham. Oh, there you go. Yep, shot on target for Newcastle. Tick, tick, tick. Basically 15 things in basically 3 lines of 5. Once a line gets, first person to fill up a line gets paid out. Second person to fill up a line gets paid out. Full house pays out, and there's a bonus pot as well. So depending on what game you're playing, you can be up to 4 winners on each game. Check it out. Links in the description below. 18 years and above, and we've got some really good new games coming from Match Bingo. Mikel Antonio and twerking. Not him. He's not twerking. He's if anything, he's a little bit sheepish after forgetting his passport. He might need his passport again, actually. Apparently, he's been offered to Galatasaray. Now, all I can only say on this is it can't be this season. I just think sometimes you read a report and you think, okay, they've got that a little bit wrong, rather than hanging them out to dry and saying, oh, they're making this up. I think they might have just got January mixed up with the summer. I don't think there's any way that West Ham are going to sanction a departure of Mikel Antonio, considering everything I've just said before in this video. we're not in a position to lose any strikers. Crikey, we need to bring another one in, but a conversation for another day, right? Antonio, Galatasaray are interested. Why wouldn't he want to go there? Let's be fair. His contract is up at the end of the season, meaning in January, and this is what I think the article meant. In January, he can sign a pre-contract agreement with Galatasaray. Champions League football, pretty much every season for them, isn't it? So, big club, yeah, I wouldn't blame him at all. It's a hard old slog, I think, at West Ham, and it can't be. And what a servant he's been. He's been an amazing servant, incredible servant. He'll be looked back on really, really fondly. And I think in the days, I'm speaking about him like he's gone. He's not. But I think, in these days where not too many players stay at clubs for year after year after year, I think of Antonio, he's really been a loyal servant to West Ham. I think so. Don't get me wrong, he's been well paid, but I think he's served us really, really well. It's not Antonio's fault that we shouldn't have relied on him as much as we have done in the past 3 years. It's not Antonio's fault that we completely muck up these signings, whether it's Danny Ings, Gianluca Scamacca, Sebastian Haller, and now Niclas Füllkrug. It's not his fault. He's probably thinking, why are you calling on me again? Why, honestly, why have I got to do this? Funny enough, I used to work with a company like this for years ago, and the carpenters were always crap, right? I'm going to say his full name. His name was Mike, basically. Mike had retired years ago. I mean, he was such a good chippy. He could hang a door properly. He could do everything. He was a joiner. He wasn't really a chippy. He was a joiner, but he was so skilled. That guy retired. That guy retired 4 or 5 times, and it was just a case of, such and such can't do the job. Can we get Mike back? And honestly, that guy was still hanging doors at 79 years of age. Honestly, he kept on getting called back. And I just feel that's a bit like Mikel Antonio. He should have been. He shouldn't be needed anymore. He is, because we're so bad at buying strikers. So there you go. But ultimately, bad news for Lopetegui, I guess, in a sort of crunch game. As I say, not that he was relying on Fullkrug coming back, but I think when your strike force has scored 2 goals between them, one for Ings, one for Antonio, just having an additional striker on the bench has got to be good. I think our second top scorer is Kudus. Obviously, he's banned, isn't he? Suspended at the moment. So you're looking at that if you're the manager, thinking, I don't know where these goals are going to come from, which is not good, by the way. I'm not sure saying he does, but it wouldn't surprise me. If that was what our manager's doing, looking at the team, thinking, I don't know where these goals are going to come from, it would probably go to explain quite why we're in the sort of pickle that we are, really. But yeah, there you go. So sorry to... Look, I've not ruined your weekend, have I? Let's be fair. It's the weather that's probably done that. West Ham can't ruin it this weekend. But there you go. Niclas Füllkrug, not back for the Newcastle game, not on the bench. I don't even think he's in training. The club have no idea when he's going to return.